Good morning to all of you and welcome to webinar on enhancing research with open data, significance of data citation, metadata standard and data management plan organized by ImpleNet Center, sponsored by DataSite GEF program. And this is the sixth webinar in series of all webinars regarding research data management, persistent data identifier and data management plan for this calendar year. So today we are we have planned for 4 different sessions during this webinar. So first of all, first session will be delivered by Mr. Divekant Vagela on research data management plan. So without wasting much time, I would like to invite Mr. Divekant Vagela. He is working as a scientist D at ImpleNet Center with having vast experience on IT and software development in ImpleNet Center. So please, Divekant, share your screen uh, and hand over to you for session on research data management.
Thank you, Hitesh. Thank you very much. First of all, I'm sharing my screen.
Yeah.
Hope the screen is visible.
Yes, screen is visible. Voice is clear. Please
Uh,
go.
okay. Now, today, as my colleague Hitesh told, this is the sixth webinar and probably the last webinar of this series. And this webinar is on enhancing research with open data, significance of data citation, metadata standard, and data management plans. My first session is on research data management. What is research data? What is management? I am going to cover this thing, and all the topics which I'm going to cover is what is research data, types of research data, classification. So I'm going to cover all these topics like see what is research data, types of research data, classification, open data, and open science, plan S and its principles. What is open research data? Benefits of open data, what is research RDM life cycle, importance of RDM, verification of research data. All this I'm going to cover here. Now, the first question is what is research data? Now, what the research data is the data basically created, collected, and observed for the purpose of analysis to produce some result or to produce the original research result. And the research data uh, are generated for various purposes through different processes, and it can be divided into various categories, and each and every category may require various type of treatment, like say tourism data for collecting some tourism data, educational data, expenditure data, and industrial data. It requires different type of treatment. Now, what are the types of research data? So it is based on how the data is being generated. So first is the observational method, in which the data is being generated real time through sensor data or survey data like that. The second one is experimental data, which are generated through some lab experiments and chemical laboratories, gene sequences. These are the examples of experimental data. Then in simulation data, whereas rather than data, the models are very important, in which in one model they are inputting some data and the output data is being generated. And the example of this simulation is climate model or economic model. Then another is a derived or compiled data. Once we have collected all the data, that may be a junk or something, and from that we need to derive or extract the data which we require. The text and data mining, compiled databases, these are the example of this. Then fifth one is reference or say canonical data. data is already published and curated, and it is available in it is accessible. From that, some chunks of data is being derived for further analysis. So this way, the data, through this way, the data is being generated. Then it comes to classification of research data. Research data is classified in 6 categories. First one is method, which we have already seen: experimental, observational, simulation, derived or compiled, like that. The another one is format. The data is being maybe in a spreadsheet, maybe in databases, maybe an image file, audio file, maps. And the content, it may be a numerical, maybe a textual, it may be a audiovisual multimedia type of data. Then nature, it may be digital or it may be like on paper survey also. Then source may be a primary or derived, or like or say secondary data. And the processing is raw or processed data. Like say once first time we have collected, that is called raw, and if we have performed some analysis, then after it becomes a processed data. Now this is all about research data. Now what is open data and open science? So if the data is available in open access, can we say it is open? No. If the data is available to anyone for using, reusing, and redistributing without any legal, technological, and social restriction, and if the data is available in machine readable format, then we can say it is a open data. The thing is use, reuse, and redistribute without any restrictions. Open data is basically benefiting the open science movement. How? See, once we have generated some data or collected some data earlier, then if somebody is doing the same practice, then uh, it will be a loss of time and money. If the data is accessible in open access, anybody can come to that data, they can start using that data, and this way it is benefiting open science movement. Now what is open science? Basically it is referring to the practice of making scientific research data and findings accessible to anyone or everyone through data sharing and collaboration without any restriction. Now for this only, one initiative was taken by a European consortium. It is a Plan S. It is an initiative for open access science publishing, which was launched in 2018. That is Coalition S. It is a consortia of national research agencies and funders from 12 European countries, in which the key principle of this is to keeping all the things in open access. With effect from 2021, all the scholarly publications on the research from the research funded by the public and private grants provided by national, regional, and international research councils and funding, it should be made in open access through some open access journals, through or open access platforms, or if it is not available, then it should be made it available, and that is too without any embargo period. There should not be any restriction of 6 months or 1 year or like that. Embargo should not be there. And it has it was structured around 10 principles, majorly 10 principles, in which first one is author should retain their copyright. The second is member of the coalition or say funder should establish robust criteria for and requirement for compliant open access journals and platforms. The funders should also provide incentives uh, for the creation and compliant open access journals and platform if they do not exist. Publication fees should be capped to a standardized form, and it should be covered by the funders and universities, not by the individual researchers. Sixth one is universities, research organization, and libraries should align to their policies and strategies. For books and monographs, the timeline uh, is being maybe extended beyond 2021. It was nowadays it will be done. Hybrid open access journals, which contains few open access data and few closed access, are not compliant with these key principles. Members of this coalition as should monitor compliance and sanction non-compliant beneficiaries, and open archives and repositories are acknowledged for their importance. These are the 10 principles of Plan S. Now, same way in India, we have ND-SAP policy. India in 2012, India initiated the ND-SAP policy to share non-sensitive data, which are generated through some ministries, Indian ministries, departments, subordinate offices, organizations, and agencies of government of India as well as states to share our non-sensitive data to the in open access, right? It may be a digital or non-digital, and the purpose of sharing this is to promote data sharing and enable access of to government of India own data for national planning, development, and awareness. Right now, what is open research data? It is basically open scientific data, or we can say open research data is a type of open data basically focused on scientific activities, observation and result of scientific activities, reliable, available for anyone to analyze and reuse. Now, what will happen with this? It will allow the verification of scientific claim, uh, which was done by somebody, uh, by allowing access to the data, to allow the data from many sources to be integrated to give a new knowledge. Like say other data can be collaborated and we can generate a new knowledge. Now we talked about this open data. Now benefit of open data. See, if the data is available in open access, anyone can come to the data or can download the data, and they can start using the analysis. They can verify the claims. It will bring the transparency. Open data promotes the transparency by making information accessible to the public. That and then in it will also bring the innovation. Accessible data encourages innovation by enabling the researchers to develop a new product based on existing. It will also help in economic growth by creating opportunities for the entrepreneurship and driving efficiency in public and private sectors. Uh, if some institutions has published the data, then that institution or government will be accountable for the data. Collaboration, as I earlier told you, we can collaborate with existing data, and we can generate a new result. We can solve the complex problems. It will also empower the citizen by giving them the tools and informations they need to participate in civic processes and make informed decisions. Researchers, it will also help the researchers and analysts across the various fields like healthcare, education, and environment, and it will also help in public service improvements. Now, main point is research data management. It is basically a process to organize, document, storage, and preservation of the data which is resulting from the research process, where the data is basically the outcome of experiments and observations. As I told you, it can be a number or textual data or image or any audio or video file. It includes RDM life cycle, research data management life cycle. It is basically a process starting with the research question, data search, data management and collection, archive and publication, which includes file format, choosing file format, naming convention, version control. This will be covered in data management plan in next topic. by Shri Yadrik Patel sir. Now I'm moving to the next point. It's importance of RDM. What is the importance of research data management? It is a process for documenting, preservation and publication of all research data. So the first benefit is the quality assurance, ensures quality. See, proper data management plan. If somebody did proper data management, then it will ensures the accuracy, reliability, and completeness of research data. It also helps in reproducibility of data and brings the transparency. It is compliant to some standards and say with legal and institutional requirement. The if proper data management is done, then it will be very helpful to the researchers for data retrieval and analysis. It also enhance the security and protections. It is also helping in collaboration with the other data and other team members. It will also help in long-term preservation and providing the access to the researchers or say analyst. Now the point is the verification of data. Verification, it is basically the process of making research data findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. This concept has gained prominence in the scientific community to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of research data management and sharing. Now, what is this FAIR? This F means findable. The data should be easy to find for both humans and computer, which involves providing the unique and persistent identifier and providing the metadata, proper metadata in a standardized way. Then A is for accessible. Data should be easily accessible once it is found. So it should have the proper guideline and proper access permission so that the data can be easily accessible. Interoperable means it should be properly structured and formatted so that it can be integrated with the other sources and analyzed, which includes standardized data format, vocabularies, and ontologies. And it should also include the clear-cut documentation. Then reusable. It is basically regarding the licensing information. It should have proper licensing so that reusable means it is regarding the licensing information. Data should be well documented, annotated, stored, and sustainable long-term repository. Now, this is all about how to manage the data, what should be assigned and what should be the access policy, and what should be the structure, like, and now where to host that data. There it comes RDR into picture, research data repository. So it is basically a data library or data archive, a unified data management platform where you can store and manage your data source. Right, the data can be used for sharing, analysis, and reporting purpose. Now, see what should be the characteristics of RDRs. There are certain RDRs. There are so many RDRs available. Research data repositories are, but what should be the characteristic of research data repository? So it it is basically divided into three part. One is organizational infrastructure, which includes free and easy access, clear use guidance, risk management, retention policy, long-term organizational sustainability. The second one is digital object management, which includes providing the unique persistent identifier, should have the proper metadata standards, curation and quality assurance, broad and measured reuse, common formats. Basically, you should have open formats, open standard. Then provenance, then technology for authentication, long-term technical sustainability, security, and integrity. Now, you might have question, say, if institutional repository is there, then will it serve like as a data repository? No, there are certain differences. So institutional repository basically focuses on collecting, preserving, and disseminating scholarly outputs produced by institutions such as research articles, theses, dissertations, conference papers, and other academic materials which may not contain the data. It serves as a digital archive for intellectual output of the institution's faculty or stakeholders. And whereas data repository focuses on storing and sharing research data sets, it provides a platform for researchers to deposit, discover, and access the data sets. For both the things, the softwares are different. For institutional repository, Dispace, ePrints, Fedora, Hydra, and Drupal are the softwares. Whereas for creating data repositories, Sikan, Deacon, Nada, Dataverse are being used. In nutshell, we can say data research data repository serves as a centralized platform for storing, managing, and sharing research data. Uh, Research data repositories plays a crucial role in supporting open science initiative, promoting data sharing and reuse, and ensures the long-term preservation and accessibility of research data for the benefit of the scientific community and society. There are general purpose repositories. You can store your data, research data in unstructured way, like say fixed shares. And there are say data specific repositories available. Uh, Data.gov.in, where you can find the data of Indian government. ICSSR data service, where you can find the social science. It is basically social science repository. UK data service, ICPC, PSR. These are data specific repository. Now it comes to research data repositories registry. See, if somebody doesn't know about the whether the data repository of their domain or say discipline is available or not, then you can find that repository on this re3data.org. It is a tool that offers researchers findings, funding organization, libraries, and publisher an overview of existing international repositories for research data. It is like a registry, global registry for all the repositories, and it contains 3,000 plus RDS, research data repository, across the world. Uh, that ends my presentation. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much. Over to you, Hitesh.
Thank you, Divekant, for your insightful session on research data management. Now, I would like to invite our next presenter, Sri Yatrik Patel. He is a senior most scientist at Implement Center, and he has expertise on software R&D, and he's a backbone of Soul Software. So I would like to hand over session on to Yatrik sir, and he will be taken care of best practices of data management plan for researchers.
Yeah.
Sir, over to you.
Thank you. Morning, all of you. Today, I will be presenting about data management plan and data access policy. In previous lecture, my colleague Sri Divyakant has already briefed you about various type of data and what needs to be done with data, and where it should be shared, and what are the fair principles and all. Now, in this session, in this brief session, I'm going to discuss about data management plan, its benefit. I will also touch upon research data lifecycle, as well as a little lengthy discussion on key elements of data management plan. We will also see certain tools by which you can generate data management plan, and we will see about organization-wide data access policy and its key element. So first thing first, the definition. So basically data management plan is a formal document that outlines how data will be handled throughout the life cycle of the research project. So basically it is a document which describes how data will be collected, how data will be organized, where data will be stored, how data will be shared. I mean, will be shared with everyone, or will be shared with selected group of people, or will be restricted, and how data will be preserved. So basically, broadly speaking, data management plan encompasses aspects of collection of data, organization of data, storage of data, sharing guidelines, as well as sharing restrictions also, and how the data will be preserved. So the first question would be, why we need data management plan? See, there are several points which mandates us that we must have a data management plan for any research project which involves data. The first one is the funder mandate. See, many funding agencies, they require researcher to submit that data management plan is as a project proposal. So as soon as a project proposal should include the data management plan. So again, I will tell you what data management plan covers, how it will be collected, how it will be shared, how it will be preserved, how it will be stored. So before putting project proposal, or at time of putting project proposal, the data management plan should be submitted, and these are the funder mandates. Whether you see the nature or any other, they always mandate that. The second aspect is it gives you transparency and reproducibility. So as soon as you make your research data accessible and understandable to other researcher, so that the researcher can reproduce the research finding, and in turn they can verify your research. So your research will be transparent, as well as apart from verifying, they can also extend your research by adding some more values. So it helps your research for transparency and reproducibility, and obviously data sharing and reuse. As I told, data management plan also includes data sharing policy. So it basically promotes collaboration and interdisciplinary research, and obviously by reusing, scientific progress can always be increased. Then preservation of research output. See, normally in general case, what happens whenever you conduct a research, you spend lots of time in collecting data, maybe 6 months or 12 months. Then based on that data, you analyze the data and maybe producing 2, 3, 4, 5 tables and graphs. And then you submit your research output, that is paper. And then you tend to forget about your raw data. Whereas data management plan ensures that your data should always be preserved. So that basically ensures accessibility and usability of your research output. Then the fifth thing is compliance with regulation. See, data management plan always help researcher to comply with legal and regulatory requirement, such as data protection law, IPR, and funder policies. The sixth point is, you here in 6 point, like, you are reducing risk by mentioning the policies for data security, confidentiality, and backup procedure. And as I told, it helps to mitigate risk associated with data loss. Because see, in your data management plan itself, you have already specified that primary data will be stored in say some drive space, and then then again it will be backed up regularly at interval of every week or something. So your data will always preserved, and during your project life cycle or even beyond your project life cycle, you will be able to always ensure that your data is available, and it protects you from the risk of losing your data. And obviously it is efficient and cost effective, because as if your data is preserved carefully, it will save time of other researcher as well as yours for recollecting and reprocessing the data. So these are the 7 important aspects of data management plan, that is fundamental, transparency and reproducibility, data sharing and reuse, preservation and research, preservation of research output, compliance with of regulations, risk mitigation, efficiency and cost effectiveness. Now, coming to research data life cycle. See, research data life cycle is basically life cycle of the data, which encompasses through your basically series of stages which your research data goes through. And the stages are creation of data, processing of data, analyzing the data, preserving the data, giving access to data, and reusing the data. So here we will, we will discuss briefly each steps. Again, I will tell you, say at start of your research, definitely you will have the policies, how you are going to create the data, that may be questionnaires or observations or anything else. Once the data has been created and verified, you will process the data. And processing of data means removing the junk values and keeping odd man outs, and not considering outliers and all. And then after, you will analyze the data. So after analysis, you will produce the result, and your data will be preserved. And you then comes into picture the data sharing policy by means of giving access to data. And once the data is shared, there are chances that people are going to reuse. So this is complete research data life cycle. Let us see each aspect. Say the first one, creating the data. So at time of putting the proposal or conceptualizing your research topic, you will definitely plan the data management, that is how you are going to collect the data, from where you will get the data. So first of all, in which format and storage, right? Say you will say my data will be, say if you are using R, then your data will be in DAT, or if you are using Stata, then your data will be in X format. If you are using plain Excel, then your data might be in CSV. So you will plan your data format. First of all, you will try to locate the existing data if any such data is available. And in addition, you will have you will mention your plan to collect the data. So it may be experimental, it may be observations, it may be measurements, it may be simulation, or it may be questionnaire also. And then you will also capture and create the metadata. Metadata is data about data. I don't think I need to explain you much more about metadata. And at this point of time, you will also plan the consent of the sharing. So all this point should be part of your data management plan. So once you have planned about how you will create the data, then you have to mention about processing the data. So once the data is collected, what you're going to do, whether you might directly enter data or import data into your system. You may need to digitize or transcribe or translate the data. Then you will check, validate and clean the data. And in certain survey data, the personal information of certain personal information like mobile number or Aadhaar number or say address, date of birth, etc. might need to be anonymized. So you have to identify and specifically tell even at time of collecting the data that this data will not be used for, personal information will not be shared and it will be anonymized. Then you have to describe the data and manage and store the data. So this all becomes part of processing or pre-processing the data, and this should be also documented in your data management plan. Then coming to analysis or analyzing the data. So once like you have decided that this is the way you will collect the data and this is the way you will correct or clean the data. So once your data has been cleaned, you will also mention your procedures to analyze the data, that how you are going to interpret, how you are going to derive by applying certain statistical formula. And then you will produce research output. You might also do certain publication. And once the analysis is done, you will prepare your data for preservation. So the steps are clear. The first one we have seen creation, then processing, then analysis. Now coming to preservation. So how you are going to preserve the data? You will tend to migrate your data into best possible format. See, if I have say during my engineering, I have created certain database and it was available in FoxPro DB format. Now today I am not able to use it. Why? Because the present tool doesn't support that database structure. So what I could have done, I could have done my or preserved my data into CSV or some open format by which anybody can understand. So here you will also have to mention what is the best format that you are going to choose so your data can be reused, as well as you have to migrate your data to suitable medium. As I told you, my FoxPro files were available in one this 5.25 floppy drive, 5.5 floppy drive. Now, even if I have data, I might not able to read it, or even my data has been copied onto CD. In today's machine, I might not able to read it because machine doesn't come with CD drive. So periodically, I have to migrate my data to suitable medium. So there are two aspects to be considered. That is the format and the medium. That is physical medium. You can also store your data into drive. Then you have to have policies for backing up and storage the data. You have to create the description about the data, that is metadata and documentation, and then archive data. So preservation of data is equally important as creating the data, because if your labor, your struggle, your entire time period goes into creation of data, and then if you are not able to preserve it, your research might take a bad shape. So this also needs to be mentioned in your data management plan. Then once you have policies for preservation, you will also need to mention how you are going to give access of your data. That is whether it will be controlled access or whether it will be open for everyone, or that may be certain aspects there. I mean, certain part of your data is open to everyone, but certain part of your data is sensitive and it is not open for everyone. This kind of categorization also you need to mention. Obviously, you need to establish the copyright, as well as you also need to promote how you need to mention like how you are going to promote your data so it can be reused and your research can be validated. And once all things are done, then the question comes about reusing the data. So reusing the data supports follow-up research or new research, or it also enables to undertake research reviews, scrutinize and validate the findings, and obviously it can be used for teaching and learning. So this was about research data lifecycle. So data management plan should include planning and designing of data, that is preparing a DMP, identifying the research objectives of the data, and select appropriate uh, data collection methods. Then it should also include how you are going to collect the data. It should also include how you are organize the data. It should also include how you are going to analyze the data. I mean, you have to mention that different data analysis technique, whether it is quantitative or qualitative, what sort of software will be required to analyze your data or reproduce the result. So this will help you in transparency. Then data sharing and publication, then data preservation and archiving, and data reuse or repurpose. So apart from these 7 aspects, you also need to mention compliance, as well as legal compliance, as well as roles and responsibilities, because certain data also comes under GDPR Act or IPRs and etc. So that mention should also be part of your data management plan. Now, by seeing this, you might be thinking that, oh, it is very complex, like how, whether we will do the research or we will create the data management plan. But you don't need to worry about creating a data management plan, because there are certain online tools available, that is dmponline.dcc.ac.uk or dmptool.org or this service.derisa.ac.za. All these sites helps you to create the data management plan. Let us have a quick demo of this data management plan, DMP tool. So here is the website, dmptool.org. Here I have created one test project. Okay. So if I click the test project, I mean, or if I create this one I have already created, but if you want to create new, there is an option available. So here what you have to mention your project details, the title of the project abstract of the project, research domain, project start date and project stop date, and some metadata about your project. Here you have to mention here, let's go to dashboard first. See here, once you log in, once you register and log in, see, registration is free. Anybody can register with email ID. Then you have to create, choose to create a data management plan, which I have already created. Because it is little lengthy process, I'm not going into creating a fresh plan. But if you click this already existing plan, these are the fields available. So here you have to mention your project details along with project abstract, right? Then you will have to mention the collaborators, like who are the different contributors to this project. See, here there are two type of contributors. One is project contributors as well as DMP collaborator, because DMP plan can also be done in collaboration. And then here comes the key thing, that is write the plan. So, here you can see all the 7 aspects which I was talking about, that is data collection, documentation and metadata, ethics and legal compliance, storage and backup, selection and preservation, data sharing, responsibilities and reuse. Okay, so you can see all the 7 aspects are included here. Now here what you have to do is, here there are certain questions like what data will you collect or create, as well as the guidance is also available here. You can see what type of format and volume of data, is there any existing data can use. So based on this guidance, you have to type according to your project requirement. Then another question is, how will be the data created or collected? And here you have to respond to this question and write your text. That is what standard methodologies you will use, whether you use questionnaires or whether you will use what you call simulations or experimental data, or how you are going to structure your data and what will be the naming convention, etc. You have to mention. So these are the 2 points. Once you answer these 2 questions, your data collection part is over. Then here you will have to mention what type of documentation and metadata will accompany the data, and here are the guidelines, right? Similarly, you have to go to each and every segment. That is the question is, have you gained the consent of preservation or sharing? How you will protect the identity of participant if required, like anonymization. As I told you, you have to mention here everything. Then what are the methodologies that you are going to use for storing and backing up the data? Then how you will what will be your view on preservation, like what data must be retained and what data must be destroyed. And see here, everything is given here. So once you fill in all this, sharing and responsibilities and reuse, you will have, and obviously if it's ongoing project, it's fine. Otherwise you can also mention proposed research output or maybe publications. And once you finalize, you will be able to download your data management plan. And data management plan, I have downloaded one example. See here, it will create a data management plan for you. Obviously it is a draft. Obviously you have to relook at it as per your requirement, but it will give you a structured and almost ready kind of data management plan. So what does it contain? It's DMP ID, the project title, who are the funders, what are the abstract, what are the data types that you are going to use, what are the tools you are going to use, what are the standards, how you are going to preserve your data, who will be able to access and who will be able to reuse, and what are the oversights. So basically this tool will help you to create a data management plan. So I hope everyone is clear about this. So see, don't worry about all these aspects. Just you keep in mind all those 7 points that you need to consider while creating the data management plan, and use one of this kind of tool, and it will help you to create your own data management plan. Now, data management plan is, say, related to a research project or confined to a particular research project. But suppose there is one organization which are having multiple research projects. So obviously there is supposed to be an organization wide policy which is called data access policy, which is a set of rules and guidelines that dictates how the data can be accessed, used and shared within an organization. See, earlier it was like confined to a particular research project. Now this is confined to uh, an organization or say mutually collaborating organization. So basically what it does is it defines the procedures and controls which are necessary to ensure that the sensitive and confidential information is appropriately handled and protected. Because you know, if you're head of the institutes, one fine morning he says, okay, now everyone has to share their data publicly on the website. He cannot simply do that because there are certain data which might be restricted. There are certain data which might be under embargo period. There are certain data which is confidential. There is certain data which is actually meant for public sharing. So there are various kind of data, as my colleague Divekant told in particular session. So each type of data, each type of user must be, or each of this concern must be addressed appropriately. So for sharing the data, data access policy and organization-wise data access policy is must. So what should it contain? A data access policy should contain the first component is access control. So your data access policy should specify who has access to which kind of data and under what circumstances. Like there is certain data of ongoing research. It may be shared between only a group of scientists, right? But there is certain data which can be shared for public use. So now how you are going to decide if these are the group of scientists or these are the public or these are the institutional users? So basically you might need to give a role-based access. Role-based access control. I mean, if somebody logs in with organizational email ID and if he is tagged, okay, he is the scientist or he is a professor, then access might be given. But if he is a student, the access might be restricted. So access control mechanism should be specified in your data access policy, and obviously your data repository also should support this access mechanism. Then second option is, our second component is classification. Before sharing, you need to classify your data into various categories. The category may be public or internal or confidential or restricted. And based on this classification of data, the access control may be implemented. Then authorization and authentication. So here you will also need to mention, your policy should also cover that who are the authorized person to access the classified data. So authorized person to access the classified data. So you may use login based authentication or multi-factor authentication or anything else. Then your policies should also include how your data will be shared and transferred between users or departments or external agencies. This also includes data sharing agreements as well as the encryption requirement. So access control, classification, authentication and authorization, data sharing and transfer. And then you have to mention, or your policy should have a component of data usage policy, like under which circumstances you will allow use of data, because you may always restrict commercial use of data, but you will also always promote uh, use of data for academic purpose. So this should be part of your policy. Further, you will also need to mention how your data will be monitored and audited, because you have to always keep a track that who is accessing and who is using the data, and you have to have access logs. Otherwise, like without having access log, you will not able to identify the right usage of your data. And obviously your data access policy should also cover training and awareness, like how you are going to promote your data, how you are going to create awareness about your data which is to be hosted on your data repository and all such things. So your data access policy in nutshell should contain access control, classification, authentication, authorization, data sharing and transfer, data usage policy, monitoring and auditing, as well as training and awareness. And see, if you are interested, I can show you this example data access policy. See, this we have done for ICSSR data service. Now this project is almost closed, but yes, policies are still in place. So you can see here, if you see at content pages, what you have covered, how data will be acquired, right? Version control, file formats, data selection and inclusion, kind of research data, what kind of metadata that we are going to use. Then data submission policies, like who are the eligible data depositor. If embargo is required, then what sort of embargo period we support. Then condition of withdrawal data. Then, sorry. Like who will be able to access the data, what are the policies of use and reuse, and obviously how the entire initiative will be governed. And here there is a description about all the items which I have shown as uh, index. So I think this ends my presentation. If you have any questions, etc., we will take it at later. Over to you, Sri Hitesh.
Thank you, sir, for your invaluable presentation on DMP and data access policy, along with demonstration on DMP tool, which offering essential insights into effective research data management for researchers and institutions. So now next, I would like to invite Sri Pallab Pradhan, working as a scientist at Influencer Center. He will be presenting on the role of persistent identifier, data citation, and metadata standard in enhancing accessibility and discoverability of research data. So over to Pallab.
Yeah, thank you, Sri Ritesh. Hello, everyone, and nice to see you all once again. In the end, this is the sixth webinar, as Divekant said in the beginning itself. So before I'll start to give you, go with this role of PIDs, data citation and metadata standards in research data. I'll give you a quick overview about, I know it's a project about data science, so I'll give you a quick overview about the data science, and this session will be specifically on data science, data citation and their metadata standards in specific. Okay, so in this, as I said, what the data site does, how it works, what type of work it does in the context of research data, data sets in particular. So before beginning with, I would like to give you a sharing a quick overview about the persistent identifier first, the DOI aspects. Then we'll be going with the data citation, then data sites metadata standards along with the DOI metadata part. So basically, what is a PID? Like normally, being an individual, like we have a lot many identities, identifiers. We have with like Aadhaar card. We have voter IDs, so that some other person can identify us. The government can identify us. We have been assigned in unique identifier, unique number, right? So a persistent identifier is a unique alphanumerical string. Usually, looks like this the string. You can see the kind of string that usually refers to a digital source. Okay. So this digital resource, always point to the same resource. It's a metadata part. It representation of your information about you, who you are, from where you belong to, what you do, your qualifications, everything that you have been associated with, right? So if you are having a personal identification, then your details will be there. If where you are doing, then from as I said, and your each and everything nowadays having some kind of identities, per person, the institutions, the objects that we as a research output that we contribute, right? So we have a lot many types of identifiers. See here, like PIDs for people, as for us, it is for researcher. We have ORCID ID. I hope everybody of you know that. We will be talking. Then PIDs for places in the sense specifically on to organizations, where do you work? And then PIDs for things like the objects that we contribute, our research output, the data set, the thesis, the articles published that we do, right? So in the case of, as I said, PIDs, people who do have DOIs, then other identification also that are being used. It's not that confined with these three. As I said, I named it ORCID or ROR and DOI. It's not, many are there. It depends that who are in which, but as I said, the station is specifically on data side part, so we'll be specifically focusing on that. Those three those are associated with data site. So data site about, so basically it's a global community, and that share a common interest. What it does is like to make your data sets, whatever your contribution, the data part that should be available, openly available. That all the that identifiers with its the metadata part that should be openly available, discoverable, and later on that data set should be reusable, so that it is providing an infrastructure kind of thing. And it's many of you would be knowing that ROR is also a product of data sites along with two other companies or organizations, you can say. So ROR is nothing but the research organization registry. So like, we have an ORCID ID, Open Research Contributor ID for authors. For institutions also, data site is giving an ID, that is ROR ID. So it's a kind of a new identifier recently launched, in 2019, and still, in Asian institutions, not yet that much implemented. Still, most, Western countries, they have already done it. But yes, in Flipnet, ID Delhi, a lot many other institutions in India, they do have their own IDs, but we are, actually not utilizing while calculating the things of assessment in the part. So all the research output with this DOI data site infrastructure, having the DOI, all the research outputs will be very much discoverable, which increase the reusability parts, as I said, and also advance the knowledge. That's the main motto of our research site. So across and between disciplines. So as a community, data sites makes research more effective through the metadata information, having the DOI part. You can say that's what, because when you are they're giving a DOI, that are assigning some kind of metadata, that identifiable information. That's what we say PII, right? Personally identifiable information. The PID is part of that PID, right? So for that, they provide some certain information, that metadata information, so that your data set, your contribution will be discoverable by different other platform, other system, and that can be reused. so that your research would be transparent, that can be reused, right? So these are many types of research output that data site supports. And if you go to their, they do have the platform, as I said, data site Fabrica. You can see these are the output, kinds of output, categories of output, so types of output. So they are assigning device to data sets, to physical objects. And it's not like that, as you saw in the previous session, that data management plan, DMP. So these DMPs are also assigned a DOI, like this is in under output management plan. So there's those DMP, you can put it, you can assign a DOI, or data site will assign a DOI to your DMP plan under this output management plan. Under this OMP category, output management plan category. So data sites are not only reliable, as I said, their devices are not only suitable for the specific data sets. They do have this all kinds of types of research outputs. They do assign data device, so that your whatever you are generating as a contribution, because as we do consider, it's not only the articles or research outputs, or not only the data sets associated with our research data or thesis or output. Everything, your presentation that I'm presenting today, that's also a part of research output. That image I generated from different machines, the visualizations that I do, the preprint, the software, everything, the programs, code, sound, everything's like, so all this can be assigned a DOI by the data site. So that's the beauty of the data side, that you'll be having a DOI for each and every product that they are contributing as well. Okay. So these are DOI for data sets. For certain examples I've given. This is specifically for National Research Council of Thailand, kind of data set, DOI for reports, then DOI for thesis and dissertations, DOI for softwares, and DOI for. So for each and every categories of that contribution, as I said, you can have a DOI from data site. So our DOIs, specifically the digital object identifier, helps us because mostly they are very much suitable, and specifically how it is very much helpful in particular to the research data sets. So we are talking, as in the previous sessions also, we listen about FAIR principles, right? So how it is, a FAIR, everybody would be knowing, findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. So the FAIR principles, the DOI, the data sites, the objects it supports, and the why it introduced to the FAIR principles. It's introduced to the community in 2016. Sorry, 1916 or 20. That's 2 years before, I think. And the ultimate goal of this FAIR principle is to maximize the reusability of data sets. And as I said, it has four principles that we have: findable, accessible, interoperable, and reuse. Right. So the first one, that the DOI, the data sites provided DOI, will improve the visibility and discoverability, so that your data will be accessible easily with the help of DOI. Then it will be recognized as a kind of other contributions, as like article publications and increased citation. When you are having a DOI for your data sets or any other objects, people can easily cite through that, and it is kind of connecting tools. Once you will be assigned a DOI with any of your output, then it will be connected with you. Then you are affiliated to your some institutions, then that will be connected. The hierarchy and connection will be there. So that this is the part of global research ecosystem, right? So if once you are connected, your research will be connected with the infrastructure itself, so that it will increase the maximize impact of your institutions as part of not only from article point of view or publication point of view, and from data sets point of view also, it will increase the impact of your citation, because your data will be getting citation. We'll be talking more details on data citation aspects in the subsequent slides. And obviously the DOIs promotes open research practices, and this was, I said, the FAIR principles. As I said, what in the previous slide, the same, that how DY helps to so find and connect your research. So data sites, in the data site commons and research commons or data commons, you can say whatever we must connected with the work that you did as a person under whom, like your organization. So your work is associated, your DIY is associated with data sites. You as a person is associated with ORCID ID, and you as a person works under organization that is having an ROR ID, research organization registry ID. So in the infrastructure, that in the ecosystem, you are connected. Once you published your article, your data sets will be also having a DY assigned, then it will come under you comes under the organization. So it's, as I said, the hierarchy and the connectivity, it will be there with you. Okay, so DOIs helps you to find a data sets. You can go with to the data site common site. If other sites also different sites. Once you put your the DOI, if you know having the data sets, then if you are, and the thing is that it will bring the citation aspects like with DOI, because many are there, data sites formatters are there, citation formatters are there. If you don't know any metadata part of it, some kind of data sets, and only you know the data DOI number, then if you put the DOI number in that data set DOI citation formatter, then you will be having all the details about that output, right, the data. So that's how it's bring the citation part to the surface for you to cite, so that the data citation will increase. The citation to that specific data set will increase, so that your research impact will increase. Then it support recognitions. Once your data will get cited, obviously your institutional recognition will be there, impact will be more, right? Then your organization will get benefit with the data output and with the citation itself. And so as it will inculcate, the culture of, you can go with that. A lot many data repositories are there. It's not that confined with any single data repository. Many data repository, you can go to re3data.org. You can see a lot of thousands numbers of data repositories are registered, and you can see many GREI initiative of NIS, like General Repository Initiative. Like, so that you can go and search also. We can have all the details associated with the DOI. So the data citation, many times, many people do ask that what is data citation and when and how should I cite data. So normally it's same like the citation that we cite for to the sources that we refer in our manuscripts. So basically, as we all know very much aware, being the professionals also, the citation allow us researchers to acknowledge the contribution of authors that we refer in our work, right? So same like data citations are also the formal way of giving credit to our researchers, of whom data we utilize in our research work. So it is, you may be knowing that give credit where it is due. So same way, you can give credit to the data part where you have used or utilized your data. And the motivation is that nowadays data generated in the course of research are also valuable information in this ongoing academic research discourse, also the environment we are talking about in this current period. So you need to cite data sets as well, not only to the primary publication, you need to cite the data sets as well. So this, and you can see all this from USSG, different communities, Springers, Nature, that I have quoted a few things. These are the basic that you need to have for data citation. You need to understand the logic behind it. So there are many principles to be followed for data citations, right? You may have heard, many of you have heard about the Force 11, say international agency or international organization. They are working on so many things to promote open science or to develop open infrastructure, resource sharing, data sharing, and reuse. A lot many things they are working on. So they propounded few data citation principles. So what are those? Mostly 8 principles they contributed, along with Research Data Alliance and NIS and many. It's a collaborative work. It's not that they only did. It's a collaborative work. So what they did is like specific to importance. So the first priority, that data should be considered legitimate, citable product of research. Is that we still, people do ask that why we need to cite data when we have already cited the publication associated with the data. No, it's not that. Both way you can cite to the publication, original publication, and to the data itself associated with the publication. So you should, being a researcher, you should understand that first what comes, first the data, then only you analyzed and you generated the report, the publication, right? So data has much more important. That's so you should consider the legitimacy of the data. It's a citable product of the research. The much more amount and efforts you have put it in the collection of the data, right? So data citation should be accorded as the same importance as like the citation as to the other publications. Okay, then credit attribution. So data citation should facilitate the giving scholarly credit, and the normative based upon the legal attribution to all contributors, as you say in the lesion from the ethics association also, that contributions, the IPR and all these credits. So the data part is also, you should give credit and attribution to whom you are referring, the data of whom you are using. Then evidence in this scholarly communication environment, the scholarly literature, that our all publications obviously are based upon data, right? So the corresponding data should be also cited, not only the article part, the publication content. Then these data citations help us to have a DOI, unique identification of your data, that is nowadays globally accepted and unique to your specific data, and that is being utilized or widely used as a community. Then data citation, the other four principles. So again, the access. So once you will be providing the data, citing to the data, then it will help to facilitate access to the data themselves. Once you cite, because they will be discoverable, they will be accessible by the DOI, right? So you are giving access. Once you cite, then you are giving kind of, allowing the data sets that are invisible to you. Sorry, that is not findable earlier, before having a DOI. Once it gets a DOI, got a DOI, then it will be findable and accessible to other people also, in both by human and machine. Then you are having a persistent identifiers, the locators of the data, the resource location you are having, the data sets where it is available, whether it is an organizational website or repositories or any other. Then you can have, facilitate the identification, like it's a login through DOI. You can facilitate access. You can facilitate access through kind of verification of specific data that supports a claim that so and so has done with this. Because if you are not sure that what the person or say kind of claiming, then you can go to the DOI, get access to the data sets. You can, so that better transparency of the data, so that once you find the data, you can verify. So transparency of the research that has conducted based on the data sets, that can be specifically measured or assessed. Then interoperability and flexibility. Obviously, as I said, it will be very much sufficiently flexible to accommodate the various practices among communities. Is not only confined to any repositories or anything. DOI assigned by a data set, data site that can be interoperable across the data sets and practices across communities, scholarly communities, not confined to library science or computer science. No, DOIs are the standard numbers or unique identifiers that are being assigned to data sites. It's not that there is kind of something biasness or something towards some kind of disciplines. No, it's very much interoperability in the system and flexible to accommodate the various practices that we do follow normally. Like physics people, they would be doing different. Our library science, computer science would be doing different. So these 8 basic principles are propounded by 411 data citation and synthesis group. Okay. So what are the benefits of data citation? So you can go with this, data citations, the most important is to encourages collaboration by making it easier for researcher to find and use each other data sets, thereby promoting a culture of sharing and reuse and fostering more efficient research environment. What was happening earlier was like we were just using the publications. Now coming to the when the data citation concept is coming up, once you start doing it, so the data will be also cited. It will be, and whatever data that are relying within us being researchers once we complete our research. right? Nobody will knowing to the data part. So that will be also available to other people for reuse, so that you are promoting the research culture of sharing. That's what I always say, the sharing is caring. Once you done with your research work, the data relies with you, you should share the data so that the next gen researcher can utilize the data, they can reuse. So in the other way, you are fostering, you know, you are fostering the resource environment by sharing your data. And specifically, I have categorized few things that what the benefits it does provide. Data citation provides us. For data user specifically, data citation provides the evidence that enables the reproducibility of the research, that allow other researcher to locate and access the findability part, the accessible part. It helps more easily. Then it helps us to increase the transparency of the resource that data is associated with, and further develop or remodify with the high quality data sets. Then it encourages, you know, the reuse of data in the development of new research questions, because next gen researchers, they may use the data whatever is lies with you in a different way, in a different perspective. So it encourages that mindset also. Then citation makes it easier to find data sets. In the beginning already I said, support persistence, identification of the data set, the location will be the same, the numbers will be the same, though the repository may change, but the DY will be assigned, will be the remain forever. It's the same. Then encourages the reuse of the data sets. For I have repeated, sorry for that. Okay. Then for a data producer's point of view, what it does for the data producer, being a researcher that we produce data, the creators of the data sets with appropriate credit, being a producer of the data, you'll be getting the proper credit of your data, right? So that your research impact will increase. You will be cited, your data will be cited, like so. Then it will create the same, like it will for publication citation, it will the data publication data citation will create a network, the data bibliographic trail, so that you know, connecting publications to supporting data to repositories to the different networks, the infrastructure, research infrastructure network. So how it is being used and everything, you can have a log on that part if it is on repository, and at the end for everyone how it is helpful, because it is the data citation making your data very much open. It is making the data sets, the research that we conducted is very much transparent. Transparency is you know, will increase. Then reuse is happening. Okay, reuse will be there of your data sets. So these are the data citation components. The metadata part, we can say, is a meta component. So it's the citing a data is very much similar to citing that in daily basis we do, like we cite the publication. So it's not that confined or guaranteed formats are there. No, it's not. There are many correct formats we use for the same, and it depends from which style guide you are following, your publisher or repository is following. It's up to them, or if you are having a policy of institutional level also, you can do that. So specifically, you must include a same, like you should not include the creator, contributor, or authors, who is that person, the identified person who has created the data or contributed the data, the author. Then data publications, the title of the data sets, as like publications, you have that you can assign a title of to your data sets as well. Then publisher or repository, the location, and the personal persistent identifier, the locator, the DOI or per. Okay, then version, if it is there, once you update it with some revision, then you are having a new version of the data set. So version when appropriate, when it is necessary. Then when you access the data, so when appropriate. So all these things you should have. These are the component you need to have while citing the data. So metadata, that data site metadata for DOI. So as we all know, this the data that provides information about other data that we normally call metadata as a layman point of view, right? So it is not the actual content of the data; it's a metadata part, the information, so as to make us understand the structure, nature and context of the data, not the actual data, the actual content in the publication. It is only providing to some kind, who is the author, what is the publication, the title, a few other things, right? Those are related. So same like the data citation will provide you the metadata part. The DOI will provide you the metadata associated with the data sets to understand the data specifically. So these are a lot many metadata standards for data repository for data specifically. So many Dublin core we do have, like for publication or Dublin core we have 15 element sets. For data sets we have some different. DDI, data documentation initiative for specifically for social science, DCAT for data catalog vocabulary, data sites metadata itself we have. Then Dataverse metadata coursework for the software project, they have their own. And these are many other metadata standards and schema. So you can go through this. A lot many other, I just said, but we'll be focusing on the data set device schema specifically in this presentation. So what is DOI metadata? So DOI metadata is very much, specifically in creative nature, I would say, because we see the DOI only a number, only a link we see, right? But a lot many things are associated with that, integrated with that. So what it does is like DOI metadata is the information collected during the registration of a DOI. So it is very much reliable to find a site at the same URL. Once you have a DOI, you will be kind of a URL kind of things like, so DOI number at the end. So it is very much helpful to find you some kind of data sets or the resource with that metadata information. And this DOI information will help you for discovering that can be discoverable by other metadata aggregators also. But as I said, there is so much more into this part we can do with the DOI metadata, from developing infrastructure to other. But here we are focusing on the data citation, so I'll be limiting with that. So again, what can you do with metadata? The questions we can answer a few questions like which and how many papers cite a data set. So having it based on that, you can see with Google citation, we having for publication by based on DOI and article, they do have their certain algorithms. Yes, like for repositories, once your data set is available based on DOIs, how many times it's been cited, you can calculate. What software that was used to create that specific data sets, which data sets are associated with particular research of institutional funders, because ROR is again there, it's kind of an umbrella or a hierarchy, as I said. Then who are the creator contributor associated with the data sets. So everything as the metadata information of each details are available with the DOI, so that you can give answer if somebody will ask you questions on this specific parameter. So data sites metadata schema structure. So these are the schema basic of specific metadata of data sites. So data site schema consists of 20 metadata properties. As I said, Dublin core we have 15 metadata compulsory. So here in data sites they are giving 20 metadata properties, sometimes called fields and elements. So they are having a hierarchical structure. You need to follow. Some are mandatory, or some are recommended, some are optional, and some you can repeat it as per your need. Some have controlled and restricted values. Some has unlimited, allow free text, as many you can put into that content and under that. This is like 20 metadata properties. So these 6 are mandatory, as I said in the previous slide. The identifier, creator, the contributor, title, publisher, publication, and resource type. So this is how you define in your system. The identifier, this is, you can see DOI number, the person creator, title, minimal data site XML. So this is the publisher data site, publication year. So this is how you can define in the schema itself while writing. Then these are the optional and 6 recommended. So you can see optionals are a subject, contributor. Again, as I said, repetition can be done. Creator, the contributor, date, the dates, the access date, and other language. So these are optional and recommended 6. Yeah. So connecting metadata. So that is the best benefit. Once your data will be there, you can this DOI metadata represents the relationship, the connections between different entities that are since beginning of my project. So I'm saying that connection DOI is having supporting the connecting entities. So once we say data sets that is assigned with the DOI, a person authors a paper or it. So the DOI is associated with an or contributor, that author or kit. Then our kit is assigned or related with the ROR, research organization registry on top. So any institutions want the research output, in Flipnet get some kind of fund from Crossref or something. So we are having a Crossref ID, and everything all are having a DOI or so It's in this environment of research data environment or ecosystem or data commons, you can see all are associated with each and every one. So this is the last slides that you can have. If you know, as I was telling, DY citation formatter, you can go with this citation cross-site.org. If you know, understand, let's say you don't know metadata part of your any DY, only you know the DY, you want to have other things, then you can just paste your DY number here and click format, then you will be getting all the details. This system will provide you all the metadata information that how to cite the data set itself. Is to help data citation much more easier for newcomers, new people. Okay, so here I end my presentation. Any questions that will be taken at the end of this webinar? Thank you.
Thank you, Sri Pallab Pradhan, for an enlightening presentation on boosting research data accessibility through persistent identifier, data citation, and metadata standard. So now I am excited to introduce Sri Dinesh Ranjan Pradhan, Scientist B, Implement Center. He will be presenting on National Research Data Repository as a new initiative of Implement Center. This session will explore how NRDR is transforming research data sharing and accessibility in India. So over to Dinesh.
Thank you, Hitesh, and good afternoon to all the participants. So my voice is audible properly?
Yes, Dinesh.
Okay, so I'll just share my screen. So now, as you have gone through so many presentations about research data management and different aspects of research data management. So it's the next important thing is that when you are going for your research and you are already having your research data, so how to preserve it or where you can store it. So in the first presentation, you might have seen there are so many general purpose research data repositories are available, like Genedo and Pixar and all those repository. So different research data repository are available where one can share their repository, but you have less control over those kind of general purpose data repository. So that's why Implement is coming up with a new initiative in this research data management area. So we are going to have a national research data repository that will be dedicated for all kind of research data that are coming from whatever research people, Indian people are having through their any research paper or thesis or any other grant or proposals from UGC or any other funding bodies throughout India. So, like many institutions, they don't have any infrastructure and all those kind of provisions. So we'll have the researchers from those institutes. They can also contribute to those repository, and also this repository is created like it is like this mode of the repository will be like it will be a single search interface for all the research data that are coming from all over the India from different kind of academic or research institutes or any other institutions. So in this repository, we are basically proposing that it will have a common access portal for all the researchers who want to use that access the research data, or they want to reuse the research data, or they want to explore and create visualization based on the existing data, or they want to analyze those data on the fly on that portal. So those kind of features will be available in this national data repository, and it is being planned not as a standalone instance, but it can be like any other institute who have expertise in maintaining a research data repository. They can also create their own repository, and they can submit their research data metadata will be harvested directly to this repository, so that it will act as a common research data repository portal for all Indian institutions. Okay, so for having those kind of functionality, the institutes should have to sign a MOU with Implement, and so that the researchers or faculty from their institute, they can deposit the data into this National Research Data Repository. So basically, this data repository is based on a open source software called Dataverse software that is from the Harvard University. So this has a functionality like where you can have multiple collections kind of the collection, and under a collection again you can have sub collections. So those kind of sections will be there, like and under that collection there will be a different data set available. The data set means the original research data that someone will be sharing with others or for general public. So this collection is basically, it can be an institution specific collection, or it can be a collection like a subject area specific collection, or this collection can be a journal collection, like one journal, like if you take a library science journal or a computer science journal. So the journal asks for the research data for all those any research paper that were published. If there is any associated research data like any survey collection or any raw data available, if the journal they want to submit have the raw data also available for the user, so that the user can verify what are the results explained in their research article. So those kind of collections can be created through this software. So this National Research Data Repository will be basically a mix of all kind of research data repository for India specific region. So what are the basic features for this National Research Data Repository? And basically, as I said, that we are planning to have MOU with different institutions, and a institute coordinator will be assigned. So that specific institute coordinator, they will have, they will be given a parent dataverse collection where they can create their sub collection and all those functionality. Also, they can customize the individual institute specific dataverse instance of that software. So whenever one institute wants to have a dedicated page of whatever the research data they are having, so they can have a dedicated URL for all their institutional research data. And they can also create sub dataverse like sub collection for department wise or any subject wise, those kind of things they can also collect. Or and they will be having a metadata submission option where they get the institute coordinator, they have to submit that metadata. And the repository basically it support different type of format that are common for research data like CSV, TSV, or R specific data, or SPSS data, or any other open standards that are more commonly used by the researchers. So those kind of functionality will be available in this research data repository. And also this software is having the provision for the usage statistics, like which data set is used how many times, and it will be based on the international standards like counter report format, and all those formats is available. So now this is how we have created a demo instance. So this is how it will look like for a specific institution. The institute, they can view how many data sets they are having. And here, like, we have put the National Research Data Repository. So this can be replaced with the specific institute logo or that kind of logo. And under that, one can directly view how many downloads from this data set are available, how many people have the total number of downloads from all those data sets. And if they have created sub collections kind of things, so that will be grouped as sub data verses, like 11 data verses, or this kind of option will be available. Now, this portal is also having integration of login through multiple single sign-on options. Like by default, it has its native username password options through which one can log in. So for that, one has to have their individual email address, and based on that email address, a username can be created. Other than that, if someone is using GitHub, or there is a Sibolith some institutes are using, so they can also integrate with this option. So they can they don't have to create individual username password. They can use their single sign-on option through Sibolith login or Google Log. So these kind of features will be available in this National Research Data Repository. Now this is how the homepage of the research data repository will be for a general user. When someone comes to the user interface, they will be able to view what are the different data sets available. And here there are like you can see the draft version, unpublished version, or the admin version or contributor. So these are different because here we have logged in as an admin, so that's why it is showing all those versions of the record. So this software has the functionality of maintaining different versions, and before publishing, it can be kept as a draft, and once it is available, you can publish it for a general public. Also, like my colleague Pallav has said that persistent identifier and data site and DOI. So here also we are planning to integrate persistent identifier. This is a demo instance where a DOI is assigned to the research data repository, and this is how it shows that who is the author of that uh, research data set. So if someone wants to cite that research article, they can just copy paste the citation in their published papers. Now, how to create a basically Dataverse collection. So when in the Dataverse instance, one has to there are many collections options are available. So for that, you can have you have to add the affiliation part for which institute you are creating, and you have to create an identifier specific. Like I said that every institute they will have a dedicated URL for their institute specific URL. So that identifier part will be that option where you can put an abbreviation of your institutions like Central University of Gujarat, like CUG, or that kind of abbreviation or sub-identifier you can provide to the individual collections level database. Okay, like CUG wants to have a data set repository for their PhD thesis, so CUG/PhD, or they want to have a separate for CUG for research papers that is published, so CUG/research paper or article. So those kind of sub-identifier can be created for each sub-collections or database collections. And there are different category also, like the email address. So you can have multiple email address for the contact person, so that if someone wants to contact it, like you have created a database repository where the usage is restricted only to your institutional users or a specific category of users. So in that case, if someone wants to contact the database admin, so they can contact the specific person. So this is how the screenshot of the details, how you have to fill those details, and you can provide a basic description about the repository, whatever the database collection you are creating. And you can also select, like previously we have said about if you are creating for a journal or you are creating for a research article. So those kind of category you can select. And when basically you are creating a database instance for an institute, so it will ask for what is the specific purpose of this research data collection, so that based on the specific subject area, because many subject area follow different standards for managing the research data. Like if you'll say for a journal metadata, so it will have a volume, issue number, and all those kind of things. Or if it's a geospatial metadata, so it will have a longitude, a longitude, latitude, and all those kind of data. So similarly, different subject area has different metadata field that are different metadata standard that are available for different kind of metadata. So you can select a specific subject area for that data, or you can also select a general purpose. You can select all kind of metadata. So these metadata fields will be available when you are uploading a research data into your repository. So accordingly, it will show which field you should fill. Okay, and here the options you can select whether the search option will be available for author or affiliation or topic or language. What are the fields that you will be using for enabling search for the users? And this is the basic metadata sheet for depositing a metadata set into the data repository. I have taken the National Research Data Repository. So after that, you have to enter the title of that article that you are, article in the sense, you have to enter the specific title of your research data so that people can identify. But if you are having a having a research data set for a specific research paper or article, so in that case, there is the option add replica data for. So in that case, you have to put your article title with a prefix like replica data for this specific article, your research article name. Okay, so after that, you can put your the author name and affiliation and different identifier like ORCID or RORID or other identifiers you can put here. And will be the contact person for that specific research data, what is the basic description and date on which it will be available, and what are the subject, basic subject associated with that subject area, with that research data. Basically, there are some prefixed subject area are available. So those will be available in the drop down. And other than that, you can have a keyword option. In the keyword option, you can have multiple keywords specific to the research topic. And here there is also option for related publication. In the related publication, one can give a link to the original article that is published or the thesis that is available in South Ganga or any other institutional repository. So those kind of link can be created, or if there is multiple version of that related publication is available, like the same research data, you already have a copy available in the publisher's website. So you want to give a link to that. So those kind of citation and link can be provided. Now, now once you add all those details, after that there will be an option for adding the individual research data files that you can upload as a CSV file or as a Excel file or any other R data or SPSS data. So those are different file format supported by this software. So you can add those files and you can save those records. Now coming to the management of this research data repository. So there are different roles are available. Multiple roles can be assigned through this software. Like the individual user, they can directly register and they can be created as a contributor. So whoever is your users from your institute, they can be assigned the contributor permission so that they will be able to upload the metadata of their research data, and they can give the permission and give the basic metadata. And any other person who is acquainted with the specific subject terminology and all those things, they can be assigned a role of data curator. So they can, if there is any discrepancy, they can edit and make it uniform, like the name of the person or if there any identifier. So all those data curator can update those kind of things. So you can have multiple type of roles assigned in this software. So you can manage the workflow of the data repository through this different role options, and give different options for, like the admin can be able to publish the data first, so that anyone who is not the admin, they can only upload and verify the data, but the final verification will be done by the admin. So those kind of restrictions can be applied through this Dataverse software. Also, these are the common user role and permission available through Dataverse. Excluding those, if you want to create your own user roles, you can create a different name of role, and on that role, you can add whatever the specific user group can do, whether they can publish or download a file. Like for general user, they can just, for your institutional user, you only want to allow them to download a file. So you can create a category name as institute users. So and assign them as download file option. So they will be able to only download those files any of your institution users. Now, what are the main key features of this NRDR for researchers? Basically, whenever general researchers come to this NRDR repository, they will be able to search and browse those different data sets that are uploaded in this portal, and they can have a filtering mechanism. Like in the previous slide, we have seen what are the fields that we have to define based on which the filters should be available. So based on your category of data, so you can define what are the data category, and based on that, people can filter your data, data set while searching on the portal. And they will get the option to explore the data and export into different format. Then we have also integrated a visualization tools and as a data viewer, and it is also having single sign-on, as I said, so anyone can directly log in. And the persistent ID also we have integrated in this software. Now this is the login. This is the common page where any user comes, the general user, they can come and see what are the different subject area and how many data sets are available in those subject area. They can click on a subject to browse the list of data sets available in that area. Also, they can directly search the data sets in this search box. And also one can use the browse options for different data verse. Like we have created one for specific institutions, or we have created a data set for a journal. Like this is a journal name, and whatever the journal research data that is available, it is under that replica data for that specific journal article published in this journal. So this kind of search and browse functionality also available. And the number of download and deposit will be available on this NRDR page. NRDR repository, or what is the metadata source, like if there is multiple institutions, so here multiple institutions will name will come. What is the publication year based on the date on which it is uploaded. So those options are available for search and browse. This is the basic view of a research data set web page. So once you go to the individual data set page, it will show what is the version of that record. Like this NIRF data we have uploaded 4 times. So that's why it is the version number 4.0. So automatically this software has provision where automatically create the version of the research data that is uploaded. Now, if you want to cite this data, you can just click on cite data set and it will give the citation information. So this is the basic description, and the download information, who is the contact. If you want to contact the owner, let us take that this data set is not publicly available. It is available only for the institute specific users. So the general people who are coming to this repository, they can directly contact the owner of that data set through this portal, and it will give them the details. Okay. So I think someone asked about what is the role of NIRF. So basically it is not specific to NIRF. We have just created a name for that. So this is a basic data set that we have uploaded based on some data. So these are the different files that we have uploaded for this specific data set. And that is in different tables or Excel files. So and here there is an option of the download icon. So if you click on this, you'll be able to view the original file format. Like this file was a Stata binary file, so you can download in that format. Now, if you want to, you don't have Stata and you want to have this same data in a data format, you can click on this R data format. Automatically, it will transform the data into that specific format, and you can download. And like tab delimited and all those formats are available. So you can download this information from this portal. And beside that, there is a data explorer option where you can directly, whatever the Excel data or data that is uploaded, you can directly click on the view data option. So you don't have to download the whole file. It will give you an overview of the data through your browser only. And there are two Explorer options like Data Explorer and two Ravens. So these are tools for statistical analysis. So it will give the basic analysis of the data set. So you can use these tools directly on this portal. You don't have to download the specific data set and install a software for this analysis. So those basic analysis can be also done from this Data Explorer provision. Now, if you want to export your metadata into another format or any other portal, so it also converts to different metadata format like DDI or datasite format or Dublin Core format. So this in this format, you can it will automatically convert and you can download the data. Now coming to the licensing part, these are the provision where you can give the licensing terms that are associated with that data set. So whether someone can reuse it or is it CC0 or CC BY or CC BY NC. So those kind of licensing information you can provide here so that whoever is viewing the data, they can take decision whether they can reuse it or they can upload it somewhere else or they can reproduce it into their research paper. So those data terms should be clearly visible on the data uploaded on this portal. So that's why this terms option is also available where the user have to give the specific data rights so that any general user, they can get the information about how to reuse the data set. And like I said, so automatically this once the data files are added, automatically it create a versioning control mechanism where the first one is like we have uploaded in 2020, so it has created version 1. After that, it has created version 2, 3, and 4. So it will automatically create a version of the data, and you can check the differences between different version of that research data that is uploaded. So this is how the version differences it will show. And that's all from my side about this national data repository. So thank you all. And you can now take any questions for all those sessions. But to Hitesh.
Thank you, Sri Dinesh Ranjan Pradhan, for your engaging session on NRDR as a new initiative by Flipnet Center. Now we will begin question answer session of this webinar. If you have any question, please feel free to submit question in chat box. Our speaker will address them shortly.
Yes, I think sir is asking about how to upload the data, but
He's
sir,
asking about
so the NRDR portal, it's still not operational. We are working on it. So it will be available once it is launched. We are in process of approval, our administrative process for the policy approval and all those procedure we are having it. So once it is approved by our consent committee, so after that it will be launched.